Hey everybody, it's Alex from Heavy New York, back at the Heavy New York headquarters, also known as my house. And we are here with Jack of Cypher16, all the way from London.
What's
Thank
up?
you for your time.
Thanks a lot for having me, Alex.
Yeah, thanks for coming all the way here.
It's been a bit of a trip, but it's it's all good.
How's the jet lag?
It's getting better actually. I'm only here for a few days, and it's 2 days in, so I'm still up at 6 o'clock this morning.
Okay.
Wondering what's going on.
It happens. And you said you were at the Brooklyn Brewery last night.
I was at the Brooklyn Brewery last night having fun with those guys. Yeah.
So a hangover combined with jet lag sounds.
It's
terrible.
late nights and really early mornings and a lot of beer. Dude, great brewery, great people. They really looked after me.
Yeah, and I told you about that show tonight at Vitus. So
right, absolutely. So that could happen. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to get any better.
I don't think it's ever going to get any better.
Yeah, you're going to go home on the plane probably.
I think I'm going to go home on the plane and hope I'm going to go home on the plane.
Go home on the plane hungover.
Yeah, right, exactly, absolutely. No, I'll drink through it.
Yeah, exactly. And huge shout out to our mutual friend Juliet for hooking us up.
Thanks a lot, Juliet.
Thank you so much. It's been a minute since I saw you at the Anthrax beer tasting, speaking of which.
Right.
Yeah. But moving on to the music, because you are working on brand new music, the first album in 4 years since The Great Surveyor.
Right.
Let's just give a rundown on how the making of everything has been.
It's been really interesting. We did a tour with a band called Amaranth a few years ago.
Yep.
And one of their crew guys was a producer who is based out of Gothenburg in Sweden. He really liked us, we really liked him, so we ended up working together on this new record in his studio in Gothenburg. So that's been really good. It's one of our favourite cities in the world to play in and visit.
It's
and
like one of the metal capitals of the world.
Dude, it's amazing, yeah. And it's just, Sweden's great, lovely people.
Yeah.
So we recorded it there last year, 2018. In a couple of sessions in July and November, I think. And then we took it down to Denmark, where it's being mixed at the moment by Jack of who does a lot of the Volbeat stuff.
Oh,
so,
awesome.
Yeah.
So a lot of different types of assistants that went along with the record.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we ended up doing it in a few different shifts, not like all in one session. So I was flying in, doing a bit, flying out, kind of back and forth a bit between England and Sweden. And now we're mixing it again in shifts in Denmark. Volbeat are doing an album at the moment, so
that's pretty crazy.
It's we're kind of like dipping in and out between all these other bands.
Yeah, is this gonna have a similar sound to what the Great Surveyor had? Like people who discovered you on that record cycle, could they be expecting something similar?
I think
or
it's
making something different.
I think it's similar in terms of, I guess it's us. Rhythmically, there's a lot of ideas that are pretty similar, and sound-wise, we're using the same guitar tuning and stuff like that. It's a lot darker, this record,
really?
Actually. Yeah, theme-wise, lyrically, we kind of actually strayed away from, making things like, I guess, more positive. I think The Great Surveyor is quite a positive record. For the most part.
Ocean for me to cross,
right.
That's like a victory anthem.
Yeah, right, exactly. This one is darker, definitely. The band mentally has been in a much darker place the last couple of years. So I think we're exploring that. It's still really big, like sound-wise, epic soundscapes kind of thing. Lots of layering, and very, very melodic, and all clean.
All clean.
So all clean. Few shouty bits, a few bits where I get a bit upset, but So it's weird for me to talk about it actually because we recorded the tracks, like July and November last year, and some of them have been mixed, some of them haven't. Some of them I haven't heard since we did them.
Oh wow!
So there's stuff I haven't heard for since July. So I'm kind of like trying to remember. I'm trying to remember what it does sound like.
Yeah.
Which is it's kind of interesting actually. So I'm looking forward to hearing some of the new stuff when it's mixed because it'll be like, instantly we'll know whether it's any good or not.
Yeah. Well, being that you mentioned that it has a darker sound, did this kind of just happen subconsciously, or was this like a preconceived?
I think it was subconsciously. I think I wrote most of the record, as tends to be the case, and I just wrote stuff, and then we were in the studio suddenly doing it. With The Great Surveyor, like we wrote the record and then we went out and toured it, but well before we ever actually recorded it. So we actually knew what felt good live. We knew about the song structure. Then we went in and just did the record. We just recorded it. This time, we were taking in like demos that were, you know, like 70% done. And a lot of stuff being written in the studio. So it's been really interesting to see the songs build kind of there and then, and much more organically. And I think it's been cool to know that stuff is going to be dark, actually, and some of it's quite miserable. And just go, fuck it, yeah, that's cool. Actually, we are going to do that. We don't need to write it. We don't need to make this a happy song because people want to listen to happy music today or whatever.
Yeah, this is metal.
This is metal. And you know, it's been a bit different for us, actually. The process doing this one's been quite different. So I'm excited to see how it turns out.
Now, if somebody were to get happy, because I mean, some of us listen to some of the darkest stuff. Like I know people get happy from listening to like depressing bands like Typo Negative or Paul Bearer.
Okay.
Like if somebody were to like be smiling and happy while listening to this record, is that just as good?
It's great. Yeah. I mean, I hope people are going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I think I'm really excited to hear it. There's a lot of quite epic choruses on this one. It's going to be quite a lot of sing-along stuff, despite the fact that it's you know, quite dark lyrically and quite darkly themed.
Yeah.
But there's still, you know, there's still going to be pop aspects of it. 'Cause,
Okay.
you know, I love that shit.
Yeah.
You know, so we actually have we have the first single is out now.
Awesome.
So we've released one, which is called The New Horizon. So you can check that out on YouTube and Spotify and all that sort of stuff. And that
I
gives
stole
you,
it already. No,
that's usually what happens. So that gives, I think that's a good indication of the sound of the record.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's fair to say that throughout this record there is kind of like a consistent formula going throughout it. It's not.
I think so. Yeah.
And that was also a preconceived idea. You didn't want to make like 2 slow songs, like 5 aggressive songs.
No, we never really do that. I mean, one thing I try and do is like sit down and work out how long it's going to be, you know, time-wise. So we're like, okay, so this record's going to be about 45 minutes, or it's going to be 40 minutes, or whatever. With this one, I suddenly found ourselves sitting in the studio one day when it was kind of wrapped up, the session, being like, I don't know how long this record is going to be. Have we, you know, the songs are quite short, like 3 to 4 minute songs. So I was suddenly a little bit like, have we got enough material for an album? Is it going to be, you know, like Rain in Blood short? Mm-hmm. So I added it up, and I think it is a little bit shorter than The Great Surveyor, time-wise, a little bit. But I think it all came together to be a roughly 40, 45 minute record. I think, we'll see. But right now there's going to be 11 tracks.
Okay.
So we have one more than last time. I always like 10. 10 seems like a cool number.
Yeah, I know, right?
You know what I mean?
10 or 12.
10 or 12, yeah. So there's an interlude thing that I took in kind of last minute, expecting the producer to throw right out of the window. And he was like, no, we should have this on the record. We went, huh, okay. So actually we need to track that. That's going to be it's going to be on a 60s Hammond organ.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's going to sound unique.
Which is going to be kind of fun, yeah.
That's good. Yeah, and I've noticed with The Great Surveyor from listening to that record that record actually flowed very nicely. It's like each song kind of led up to another. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So is that going to be a similar thing with this new record?
That's a hard question. I hope so, but it's difficult when I haven't got all the songs in front of me.
Yeah.
So I can, like, you know, you can play around and say, well, maybe what if this one goes to this one goes to this one. There are a couple that we know are going to flow from one to the other. But actually everything's kind of up for discussion right now, which is fun. Because, like, the album intro, I always like to have an intro for an album. So the intro that goes into the first track, that's been decided. But we were talking about it the other day and thinking, actually, we're not sure whether we shouldn't start the album with this track, which is something totally different. So it's then suddenly the whole album intro thing is like out the window because it's not the intro anymore because we're putting another song first. So then maybe the intro will be in the middle. Or maybe, fuck it, maybe we'll put it at the end. Maybe we'll have the intro as the outro. Which could be cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fun because nothing's set in stone. We've got faith that it's, you know, the tracks are really good. We've heard about half of them, and there's some really amazing stuff on there. It's pretty different.
Yeah.
It's not like anything I've ever heard before. So I'm excited to see what people think.
Yeah. It sounds like from what you've been telling me that this record came together very organically.
I think so. Yeah.
It wasn't too what I call factory made.
No, and like I said, we were writing lyrics in the studio, and then I was going and recording, and we were writing parts, and we were changing things, and we were talking about structures for songs. Like a lot of times, the band will go in and the record's 100% set in stone. Every fucking part is like decided on, and and you go in and you just record it as is. And I'm a bit of a control freak, so usually that's kind of where I'm at. I want it to be really like, this is my song, we're going to record it like this, you're the guy to make it sound good, but we have pretty much everything set in stone already. This time, we were going in and being like, we need to do a part here, or I haven't got the second verse written, or whatever it is. So like, it was cool because I guess we made quick organic decisions on things, because time is always an issue. In a recording studio, and went with what felt good at the time, which was cool because I lack a lot of faith in myself sometimes. So I'm like, is this good or not? Well, no, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about the material. So it's nice when the producer is like, no, this is fucking cool. This is what we're gonna do. Yeah. We're gonna do this part. Why don't we change it this? Why don't we do that? And we really did that. The producer is Jacob Herman, who's done some Machine Head stuff, worked with Anthrax actually, done some Amaranth stuff, and a bunch of other cool bands. And we worked really well together. But there was a lot of just me and him in the room, coming up with stuff, and being like, let's try this, let's try that. I mean, there's a I don't know if it'll make the final cut, but we've got a fucking child xylophone on one bit,
Listen, man, I'm always worried that when a band tells me that this song didn't make the cut, or this song, that you never know, that could be on a B-side record one day and be the biggest hit you guys ever had.
Absolutely, so. No, absolutely. This is a funny story. A few years ago, I was driving Devil Driver around in my van in London. It's super weird. So John, the old drummer, he's in Bad Wolves now, was sitting next to me in the front, and he was flicking through my CDs, and he came across, I had a Devil Driver CD, and I was listening to them at the time. The Last Kind Words, I think, was the record, just like my favourite Devil Driver record. Anyway, so he sticks it on, so it's like him and Mike, we're talking about it. And we get to the last track, and the last track on the record, it goes into this kind of drum breakdown, and then they have a 60s Hammond organ sort of thing, just doing this like outro thing. And they were talking about it, saying that they had a really big fight over whether that was going to be included on the song. And the band really wanted it, and then I think Mike really didn't. And then one of them was really drunk and he fell over or something, and it just broke the ice. So everyone laughed and it was fine, but the organ stayed on. So they were talking about it in front of me, and I was sitting there. I fucking love it. I think it's an amazing part, and I think the organ's genius. So I'm not going to say that is the reason we're going to have a Hammond organ and like a child xylophone and all this sort of stuff on the record. But it's definitely like, it comes to mind sometimes. Yeah, go out and do something that's really like different.
Yeah, Avenged Sevenfold almost left a little piece of heaven off their self-titled record, which is one of their biggest songs ever.
Right. Well, I mean, Quincy Jones told Michael Jackson straight up that he didn't want to do Beat It because it was rubbish. He just said, we're not going to make this song.
Bohemian Rhapsody was too long.
It's not, exactly. So it's, I think it's always good to make it, and then you can decide what to do with it.
Exactly.
But if you haven't made it, how are you going to know?
Exactly. No risk, no reward.
Absolutely. Exactly.
Now, in terms of the lyrics of your music, do you sometimes have lyrics written beforehand, and maybe that can determine the composition of the song?
Yeah, that's a good question. Usually, actually, I write the lyrics to the music. So what I would do, like with The Great Surveyor, I remember for the Deep Six, I had the demo, but no lyrics, and I knew roughly what was going to happen. So I took the demo and I put it on my iPhone, and I went for a walk around my local area in London, and just looped the song for like 100 times for fucking like 2 or 3 hours, and I just wrote the lyrics on top of the music, and just kept looping the part I was working on until I had the lyrics. And lyrically, I really like that one actually. So I often work like that. But for this record, again, I found actually taking lyrics in first. sometimes. So I would write lyrics, and then I put them in my notes folder on my phone. I do a lot of writing when I'm out and about. I'm not very good at sitting down and being like, hey, I'm going to write a song today.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like out and about doing something totally different, and a song will just come into my head, or a part will come fully formed into my head. And then I've got to like find a guitar and shit. How do I play this?
Get up in like the park. Does anybody have a guitar?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, totally. Or I sing it into my phone or whatever. So for this record, it was a bit of both. Sometimes I wrote the lyrics to fit the music. Sometimes actually I came with lyrics and said, "Yeah, I'm going to write a song that's kind of based around this lyrical theme." So again, it was pretty interesting.
And I've always thought that writing lyrics first is so hard, because then once you have the song structure, you're always worried that you have that one word that has too many syllables.
Yeah, and we found that when we recorded, we did a lot of changing of lyrics this time around. So Jakob actually helped me out a lot with the lyrics, because we found that I really like rhymes. I'm a big rhyming guy. I think rhyming is really important, and I think alliteration and rhythm are very important as well. So we worked a lot on, there's a lot of rhyming, and there's a lot of like that kind of hit, quite rhythmic vocal lines. And what you find when you've got a lot to say, that you quickly realize you're using the same words again and again and again, and suddenly you look at a song and you're like, shit, I can't have that word, and that means this is going to change to this word, and suddenly the fucking verse has fallen apart, and it's like, so yeah.
Isn't it amazing how like your perspective on a song like completely changes, like from you're writing the first riff to when you're like tracking it?
Oh my god, absolutely. And sometimes it's annoying because you feel like the song doesn't reflect what you originally wanted it to reflect. It's not like, and so sometimes the producer can be like, yeah, we'll put this word in here because it's going to sound fucking great, and then you're like, well, yeah, but it doesn't then reflect what I'm trying to say. And then there's a bit of a, there's a bit of a clash of heads sometimes. And you just have to stand your ground, or well, you stand your ground if you want to, but often actually, the other person who's bringing the other idea in is, it's a better idea. Mm-hmm. You should never be closed to, other perspectives and other ideas, because often they come in, they say, why don't you try that word? And you go, I never would have thought of that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, a lot of people think that sometimes taking in outside info is like either selling out or like, giving up or something like that, but wisdom from people outside, whether it's a music producer, hell, somebody at a bar sitting next to you could spawn a whole new idea. So I think outside perspectives are always helpful.
I think so, yeah, absolutely. It's how we learn, how we grow.
Even if you disagree with it, you know what you don't want to do.
Absolutely. No, you can always disagree.
Yeah.
I just found that on this session, for the most part, Jakob came up with some really cool stuff, really cool ideas, and there's some stuff on the record that went in a totally different direction to the demo, actually. There's still stuff. There's some stuff where I still think possibly the demo would be better, but or in my head I'm still singing the demo version when I'm singing the song. But no, it's cool. Sometimes there could be two options, and one is great and the other's great. You've got to go with one of them. So I guess the thing is that as the guy writing the record from the beginning, I always know what all the options were along the way. So there's always going to be parts where I'm like, God, fuck, we could have done that one, whatever. But if you're the listener, you don't know about any of those options, so you're not missing anything.
Yeah.
You're not hearing like, oh, he could have done that, he should have done that version,
I always wondered when I listened to a song like from decades and decades ago, I'm like, just to think that I wonder what the recording studio looked like.
Yeah.
And like the practice space in which they wrote that.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's like so much behind the barrier.
That's it. Yeah, it's a really interesting world, I guess.
Yeah.
If you're interested in that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I have 2 more questions for you. I've noticed that with your music, it's very rhythmic based, like there's a great rhythm to your style, but then there's also a lot of melody. Right. And I've noticed that there are some bands that are sometimes more rhythm driven, some bands that are more melody driven. Is there something that kind of comes first in the songwriting process for you? We kind of touched upon it.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, you know, one of my favorite bands is Meshuggah, who are, you know, all about the rhythm.
Yeah.
You wonder sometimes with them. I know actually sometimes I feel that they deliberately go atonal with stuff, so that there's a deliberate aversion to melody because they're all about the rhythm. But I sometimes wonder how, you know, monstrously, epically amazing they could be, even more than they already are, if they brought a bit more melody in.
I thought Per from Scar Symmetry touring with them might have done that.
I was wondering about that. Yeah. So I think it's really important to have both. I mean, as humans, like, we react to rhythm and we react to melody. The rhythm stuff is a bit more primitive, I guess. Like as a primitive feeling, I guess.
Your drummer sucks, your band sucks.
Right, absolutely. But the melody's super important because that's how you know, certain harmonies and certain chord changes evoke certain, you know, human feelings.
Yeah, reaction, emotion.
Reaction, emotion, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I really like trying to have a balance. I guess what happens usually in the songwriting process is the rhythmic thing comes first, depending on the feel of the song. And then what I'll do is, I really like octaves on the guitar.
Yeah.
So we tune to drop A. So we have if you guys understand guitars, or if there's any musicians watching this, so we have an E, a B, a G, a D, an A as a normal guitar would, and then our low E string is tuned down to an A.
Oh wow.
So it's really low. So it's like a bass string.
You could start a gent band.
We could very easily start a gent band. Yeah. So that's that's the really, really heavy part. I love heavy music, like just heavy, like Bach is, you know, the heaviest musician ever.
Yeah.
So that's where we get the heavy from, and that's what helps do a lot of the rhythmic stuff. And then over the top of it, I like to put octaves to make a melody. The problem with making something really melodic is, and then it can be a little bit difficult for the singer to find his melody over the top, you know, because then there's too much melody. And that's possibly something we've run into on this record, actually, thinking about it. There's a lot of melodic stuff going on underneath, to the point where it was sometimes like, I've really got to fight to come up with something really cool to go over the top of this. Because obviously, you know, ultimately you're listening to the singer.
Yeah.
That's what most people are listening to. But yeah, it's extremely important, both rhythm and melody. And I think that having this low tuning thing gives us a really solid rhythmic bass, but having the other strings allows us to be really melodic as well.
Well, you know, it's funny. I've always said that the guitar player, like lead guitar player with the solos, is really not that different from the singer, because in the end, it conveys a melody, which then can convey a certain emotion, and especially with like a lot of instrumental guitar bands, like Animals as Leaders, like, you know, the guitar soloing takes the place of the vocals.
Sure, absolutely.
So it's funny. Did you kind of do where like the guitarist kind of develops his own melody and the singer does its own melody?
We do a lot of that, and we are not big fans of guitar solos, which is a thing. But I'm contradicting myself again. It does, all the time with me. This album actually ended up having, I think, maybe 2 or maybe even 3 guitar solos on it. And I'm normally like, there's no fucking guitar solo on this song. It's not going to happen, because I just don't see the point of them.
And then it does.
And then it does, yeah. There is one song that's, I'm going to go out there and say it's possibly the best thing I've ever written that's on this record. Where we were coming out of like the middle section into the final chorus, and I always find the transitions the hardest, and it just didn't quite work. Amazing middle section, amazing chorus, but the transition is tricky. So anyway, Jakob again came to the rescue and said, why don't we have a fucking guitar solo? I know, before you say it, I know you don't want guitar solos. And Will, our lead guitarist, was sitting there, and he can play anything. So we were like, okay. So the rule for guitar solos with me is you've got to be able to sing it.
Ooh, okay.
Because I know we're in a rock metal band and stuff, and technical ability is like, you know, the thing that people like. But I don't really care how good a guitar player you are on a song. I don't care if you can play a million notes because
Yeah.
it's a song, you know. Like there's a reason Metallica are the biggest metal band in the world, and you know another more technically advanced, you know, more talented metal band is not, and it's because they write better songs.
Yeah. In the end, it's the song that matters.
Exactly. The rule is serve the song.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we had this discussion, and Jakob was like, "Well, this will serve the song," and I've listened to it a couple of times since, and it's fucking perfect.
Yeah.
And the solo is really cool. You can kind of sing it. It goes up, it goes down, it starts where it finished. You know, stuff like that. And then the chorus kicks back in, you know, perfectly, and it just all flows really well. So, yeah.
Yeah, those like 17-minute long guitar solos sometimes can...
This is like, you know, 10 seconds, in, out, bang, and back to the song.
I've always said the best thing a guitar solo could do is leave you wanting more.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just a really nice texture, you know, this particular one that I'm thinking of. It just totally adds to you know, the song was heading in that direction.
Yeah.
And then it kind of comes back to the singer.
Yeah, and especially with the style that you play, where everything flows so nicely, and I think everything, like, you guys are a band that works together well in sync. So like, if there's like a spotlight moment of a guitar solo or something like that,
yeah,
sometimes it could kind of like, for lack of better terms, break the bond.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's I'm trying to think where else we've done them in this record now. Now I'm really getting into guitar solos.
We should stop, or we'll
yeah, right. Otherwise, I'll be like, no, we need to do a huge instrumental thing now.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna ruin the record for you guys.
Yes, bring up Jakob. We need to go and do it again. Yeah.
And the final question I'd like to ask you is, and even though we talked about it off camera, we need to bring it up now. What does the future hold? I mean, when can we be expecting the new record? Can we expect you in the States again anytime soon? And anything else you would like to promote?
Yeah, so we are looking at a possible May release, I think now,
awesome.
Which is actually not far away at all. We're finishing up the mixing, and then we're going to Abbey Road in London to master it, which is where we mastered the Great Surveyor, and the team there are really, really nice. They will do the Beatles stuff, and then it's like my band. It's like, okay, they're just ringing from Studio 2 right now. It's like, oh, okay. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, so and then we'll go straight to press. Yeah, I'd like to come back to the States. You know, later this year would be cool. Whether it'll happen, I don't know. Like we were saying, the visa process is difficult, and it takes a long time, and it's expensive, and But you know, there's no reason why we can't. And if the right tour comes along, yeah, definitely, I'd love to get back out here.
You just have to you might have to sneak on like a freight boat with all your gear and
just take a 2-week trip instead of the...
Yeah.
Yeah, right, absolutely. I'd do it. The tour we did with Amaranth here a few years ago was really fun.
Yeah. Did you hit the Gramercy Theatre at that?
We played Webster Hall.
Okay.
Yeah.
The studio or the...
We did... There were 3.
Yeah,
so there's like a downstairs one, the ground floor one, and then there's the big room. We played the ground floor one.
Okay.
So the middle one.
Okay.
I guess.
The Marlin Room.
The Marlin Room.
Yeah,
right.
That's what they call it. It's not there anymore. They turned that into a lounge, which is actually...
Oh.
Which it's actually a pretty good idea, because when they have a big show at the Grand Ballroom and it gets nuts, you need to sit down and have a drink.
Right. Okay. Okay. Oh, fair enough.
But I saw Killswitch Engage in the Marlin Room one time, and there were more people on the stage than off of it. Yeah.
That's funny.
But Jack, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. Everybody, Jack of Cypher16, new music coming soon. We'll see you next time, everybody.